Yo, what's good? Welcome back to the Larry Ohh Show, episode number 4. My co-host,
John Phelps, in the building.
I'm Larry Ohh. Welcome back. Thank you so much again for joining us. Comments been going crazy. Everything's been going crazy.
Yep.
Podcast is doing well. I'm loving it.
Shouts out to the fans, the listeners.
Yo, for real. FL gang is another animal, bro.
Strong.
It's a different kind of animal.
Strong in the comments. It's crazy seeing people just like who are picking up so many gems and they're so inspired by the whole thing. Yeah. So I'm so
I literally just seen a comment somebody left before I left the house to come here. Somebody was like, yo, I learned more in this podcast over the last 3 days. I'm assuming that he's been listening to it like, you know, here and there throughout the last few days.
Yeah.
Than I ever had in like the last 7 years, he said, about like trying to learn FL.
Gotta tap in.
It's wild when people say stuff like that. So just, you know, again, thank you for watching and listening, however you're watching and listening. That brings me to the next thing we're going to do every single week, FL Studio giveaway. In the comments, you got to guess the keyword. You got to comment the keyword in the comment section some point in this podcast. I'm going to mention a keyword. I don't even really know what it is. I just come off the top, say the keyword, put it in the comments down below, and you're entered into the FL Studio giveaway. Every single week, every Tuesday, we're giving away a copy of FL Studio Producer Edition. So don't miss that keyword.
Hell yeah.
So we talked about a lot the last few episodes. A lot of plugin stuff, a lot of stock plugin stuff, we went through the VSTs, we went through the mixing plugins. I think we touched a lot on there. You know,
we got people going with those VSTs too.
Yep.
We got a lot of singers with that one.
Yep. I was thinking we could do a fun little segment where we do a verses.
Yeah.
And I jotted some ideas down. So I'm gonna bring the phone out. I jotted some ideas. We could do a rapid fire, like a verses. Pretty much all stock FL stuff, right? You know, to stick on this like little topic. So we did this a little bit in the previous episodes, but you know, I think I want to just like really like this or that, you know, type of thing.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll ask you, Fruity Delay 2 or 3?
3. I like 3.
All right.
If I'm gonna be honest, 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love Filter or Destructor?
Destructor's the distortion, right?
It's like the pedal board. It has.
Oh, right. I like the Fab filter. You said Fab filter?
No, Love Filter, the Fruity Love Filter.
I like the Love filter then, yeah. I like that one.
Okay.
The pedal board's too much.
Gross Beat or Effector or Shaper Box, if you use that, because those are the other two that are kind of similar.
I'm
to
sticking
Gross
by
Beat.
Gross Beat.
You
Yo, you know I'm sticking by Gross Beat.
I'm kind of making it easy with that one. Gross Beat's like kind of a no-brainer.
Goated, not bloated.
All right, here's one. Fruity Limiter or Fruity Compressor?
I'll say the limiter only because it got both the compressor and the limiter mixed into one, so you could really do both, you know. Compressor is fire too, though.
Gotcha.
But limiter for me.
All right, so side chaining. I think I already know your answer to this. When it comes to side chaining, there's two different ways. There's a few ways, but two like main ways that I see people doing it. The peak controller, that way. I don't know if you're familiar, or the limiter for the sidechain, Fruity Limiter. Which one?
Oh, I just use the Fruity limiter. Yeah.
Do you know about the peak controller way?
No.
It's a little bit more involved, and I feel like it's a little bit more work. But there's a lot of people that say it has like a different or a better sound. I don't think it does necessarily, but essentially it's like you bring up the Fruity Peak controller on the channel that you want. So it's very similar to that process where you're bringing up the Fruity Limiter on the channel. So you have a kick and an 808. You're bringing up the Fruity Peak controller. Then you're going, it's been a while since I've done it, but you got to link it to the controller. So like you'll select the fader on the 808 and you link it to the controller, and you got to choose another option like peak control peak. And then and then you got to actually like change a couple of different settings inside the peak controller. So you'll actually be seeing the fader jump up and down versus it going with compression.
I see.
So instead of doing it with compression, it's doing it with the fader of the
volume you're saying?
Yeah, like the volume fader in the mixer. You'll physically see the fader bouncing up and down.
Okay.
I've also seen people do it that way with the EQ. So that instead of linking the fader to it, they'll link a band in the EQ to that controller.
Have you noticed a difference between the two?
Not really, and not noticeable enough to where I'm like, oh my god, it sounds so much better this way or that way.
Right.
I don't see that much of a difference with it, or hear that much of a difference with it.
Because you said the limiters affecting like the compression essentially, and then the other one's just like hard volume.
Yeah, so one is a volume, and then the other one is doing it with compression, essentially.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I could see how that would sound different.
I mean, you gotta have a really like strong ear to kind of hear that.
Some really fire
know
speakers or something.
Yeah, I don't know if my ear is that good.
Nah.
My ear's okay. It's not that good.
One thing I've learned in like, you know, perfection and all, like the audiophile kind of component of it, like perfection is such a thing that you're never going to attain, and most people aren't even looking for it. Like we consider the fact of like the medium where most people are hearing the song for the first time on like these social media platforms. It's like you can find all these like little ways. It's really all about your flow. Like whatever is comfortable for you and whatever makes the most sense for you, you can get into the weeds about like what things are technically doing. It's good to know that stuff. But at the end of the day, I feel like most people aren't even listening for that and don't even know what they'd be listening for anyways.
Yep. It's like, it's just once you get into like you said, like the weeds of it, and you get into the community, it's like one of those things where people want to debate, they want to talk about things, they want to be right, they want to, you know, they want to be the one that's doing something that's different than other people sometimes too. So it's a lot of that. When at the end of the day, nothing's right, nothing's wrong. It's just a matter of like how good the music is when it's done, when it's finished. Is it being received well? Is it being heard? Is it being, you know, that's what matters at the end of the day. All this stuff we talk about is very interesting, but at the end of the day, I mean, we try to help people, but this or that, this plugin versus that plugin, it's all just to have fun, really.
Yeah.
Like people get too serious about that sometimes. When at the end of the day, it's just, let's just worry about making really good music.
Facts. And like experimenting and finding what works for you as a producer so that you can find your style. I think we talked a little bit about that in the last episode, and evolve with it to like, and a big thing is consistency. I was thinking about this the other day where it's like, what can you consistently do? Like, you know, free, you know, 3 layup, you know what I'm saying? What can you consistently put numbers on the board with, you know? And it's good to like deviate out of that, run your drills outside of that. But the main thing is like finding your style and your path. And that goes right down to your plugins, you know? So when we do these verses, it's not like one is necessarily better than the other. It's always just like what comes to mind with each like producer that we talk to, and anything, like anybody in the community. Right.
There was a couple of like hidden gems that I thought of today. Just, I was messing around with FL, and there's one that's really not like talked about too much that I haven't heard or seen too many people talk about. I mentioned it. I might have made a video on it like a while back when it first dropped, but like I said, FL has so many new features whenever they drop an update that some of them get lost in the mix. And they're like significant new features. And somehow like they just forget to talk about them sometimes. We forget to talk about them or mention them. And then we get bombarded with all these like brand new features. FL 21 in general, like 21 through 21.2 where we're at right now. There's been so many. And one of them that I stumbled across today again was the snap to scale inside the piano roll. Have you messed with that at all?
Oh, of course. Yeah, snap to scale. Oh,
inside the piano roll, bro.
If you don't know music theory, that is the key.
Because
gem alert.
Ridiculous. So like Newtone has had that snap to scale feature for as long as I can remember, since I started pretty much using Newtone. So I think they've like, you know, adopted that feature into the piano roll, which maybe people started asking about it. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. Maybe they just was like, yo, why don't we have this in the piano roll? It makes the most sense. It makes the most sense to have it in the piano roll. But the way that you get to it, if you're listening and watching right now and you don't know how to get to it, it's in the piano roll. Obviously, you got to go to the piano roll, go to the drop down menu, go to view, then go to scale highlighting. So when normally, if you are familiar with scale highlighting, you can change the grid inside the piano roll so that way it highlights different colors, like slightly different shades of like that bluish grayish, and then you can tell which notes are in the scale. Normally, like you'd have to put in a 3-note chord, and then it automatically detects it if you have it on automatic. You can also choose the different types of major and minor scales. But right at the top of that now, if you've updated, you'll see a little thing up there where it says snap to scale. So when you choose the scale, let's say you choose, you know, B flat minor, right? Harmonic or whatever. Now you choose snap to scale, and literally in the piano roll, you'll see it jump from note to note, and it'll skip the notes that are not in that scale. So you'll be able to create a chord progression or melody without having to worry about, like, is this note in the right scale?
Sheesh.
Wild.
It's crazy that it's in there now.
Yeah.
Because it's been in like the new tone and all that stuff forever.
And they've had that technology. That's the
just
thing.
not in that one window.
Just not in that one window where I feel like we needed it the most. But nobody ever really like complained. I've never seen like a mass complaint about not having the snap to scale inside the piano roll.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things maybe somebody on the team mentioned. I'd love to know. Maybe it was mentioned in the forums and they came across it. I don't know. I really don't. But yo, what an awesome addition to the features.
Yeah. I like that they're making it more accessible to people to like just be able to just make music. You know what I'm saying? And is it one of those things where the first things that you click in will be in that setting, or is it just an all together? Like,
No, so you'll go
it'll
like
just
say
be in that.
if you have to have it checked on first.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it turns off from session to session, if it stays on once you do it, once you turn it on, if it stays on whenever you open and close FL.
Right.
But you'll have to, so if you want it to be automatic, no matter what scale you do on the fly, you just choose automatic. And it won't lock into a certain scale unless you type in maybe like your first 3 notes of a chord, and then it detects what you're in, and then it'll give it to you. It'll give you what scale you're in, and then you can lock in from there.
One thing I'd say is like with all these gems, right? I feel like FL, if you're listening, you got
They are.
clearly.
Yep, they are.
It's like I feel like buttons like that. Like, what if you could just have that button there and then just swipe it down into like the window, like of the interface, so that like certain things that you want, like as part of your flow, are just like at that home dock. You know what I'm saying? Because like all these gems, and you have to like go through multiple like drop downs and shit. I feel like it would be so good if you could just be like right there with it and be like, oh, scale
almost like a shortcut menu.
Yeah, like suppose you have the
that
piano,
kind of just hovers down, or maybe wherever you drag it.
Yeah,
There's a couple of programs
that do that. It could be connected, or it could be like you could detach it or whatever.
But what if it's like up in the tools section, like up where like you click mixer and channel rack and stuff?
Because you have all these features and you want people to use them, obviously, clearly. So like have it be like right there, in my opinion.
That'd be crazy, bro. That's a really good idea, actually.
Hey man, image line, what's going on?
So I'm just trying to I'm like daydreaming right now what that would look like.
Facts,
you know what I'm saying?
facts.
Like, imagine if it was just up in that
sick.
toolbar and you could customize it.
Yeah.
So you could put your favorite things. But where I could see it getting a little complicated is if there's like a chain of command, like, you know, you have to go to the menu, then you have to go to view, then you have to go to. I guess they could do it though. I don't see
They could do it.
They could do it.
They
Would be
got
crazy,
1,000 dudes on that team writing code, you know?
Yep.
Tell me one of those guys can't just
That'd be wild.
yo.
You know
if they do that, it's documented.
What's some like what you feel is like a hidden gem that you came across in the last, I don't know, however many years that you've been using FL that you might think that nobody really knows about?
A hidden
or
gem.
not many people know about.
A hidden gem on FL. I gotta think about this for a
It could be
minute.
like a mixer thing, a piano roll thing, a playlist thing.
It kind of goes into. It's not exactly like the software itself, but it's like it's the software mixed with like a technique. Would be like mixing in mono. I mix like 90% of my sessions, or like each session in mono, and it was kind of based on Mixed by Ali when that Pensado's Palace or Pensado's place. Dude, that you need gems. Check in with Pensado's place and that episode specifically. But yeah, just mixing in mono for me cleared so much questions up for me about like how to mix properly. Because when you mix in mono, it's true, like you can just hear every single frequency that you don't want, and you can, you know, figure out what turning things down does to that sound in the mix, or like what doing a hard cut on certain frequencies will do in the mix. And when you're hearing it all 100% of the sound come through 100% of each speaker, it's like, which, it's not the technical, somebody who can more eloquently put it than I can.
It's just coming straight down the middle.
Yeah,
versus
just
like
straight
having
down the
any
middle. It's all
stereo feel.
crammed up in there.
Yep.
And if you can make it sound clean in mono, that shit's going to beat
Yep.
in stereo. And then like really once it goes,
You're
like,
figuring out like what's fighting for space when you do that, because you're jamming, you're cramming everything, boom, right to the middle. Where when you have that stereo separation, it's kind of hard to tell sometimes like what's going on there, what's gonna peek through, because there's a lot of systems also, like there's a lot of places that play your music that are gonna play it in mono too. And if you have things too separated stereo wise and things are too wide and too out of the realm of that middle mono area, then you're gonna lose stuff on certain systems and certain PAs and certain clubs. A lot of clubs, bro, like people don't realize, a lot of clubs that play music are playing it just in mono because it's easier. It's I don't know. It's just what a lot of clubs do that I've seen over the years. They just play their stuff in mono. Not every club, but a lot.
And when you have instruments that are spread wide like that, when you listen in mono, you can kind of hear the quality loss and taper it back depending on what you need. So like, oh, that violin that I spread out, you know what I'm saying, like mad wide, I can barely hear it. Let me bring it back narrow-ish, you know what I mean? Like taper back on the spread on that, and it'll, all of a sudden be a lot louder in the mix, which is huge.
I wanted to ask you, so I love the mono thing as well. But when you do switch it to mono, how do you go about it? Do you have a controller that goes into mono, or do you do it through the mixer?
I'm all in the box.
So inside the mixer, you go to that stereo separation knob.
Yeah, on the master.
Mono, all the way to the purple, right?
Yeah, all the way.
Yep.
And then anything that I want to come through 100% through each speaker source is that same, like, you'll put the graphic on like that. and then anything that I want like really widest in the mix, I'll put that stereo to like 50%. Never like 100%, because that's where it gets kind of like, it loses a lot of its quality. But around like 50% for like super wide stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And also panning stuff left and right really helps. Like I didn't used to pan a lot until I started messing around with different, different percussions, different sound effects, different even instruments will sound good panned left and right just slightly.
Somebody taught me, I think it was when I was in the studio with my band way back, and that's when you have all those different kinds of instruments, like live instruments, like all these different cymbals and overheads for the cymbals and drum mics and guitars, all those frequencies, bro, are on another level. Like the frequency clash when it comes to recording a live band, when you have vocals, guitars, bass, drums, all that stuff, and we were mixing, program stuff that I was doing, we were mixing that in there as well. So I learned in the studio back then panning a lot, especially the high frequency instruments helped a ton. If you do a lot of panning with the high frequency instruments, especially, so say like you have different kinds of hi-hats, and this goes for making beats as well. So making beats when you're doing everything digitally versus, real instrument wise, same idea, same thing. You have two different kinds of hi-hats, maybe you have two different closed hi-hats and an open hi-hat. I'm panning those things. Maybe I'm not hard panning them 100, but I'll do maybe 25 to the left on one closed hi-hat, and then I have a lower pitched hi-hat that's maybe panned slightly 12% to the right. And then I have an open hi-hat that's maybe panned 40% to the left and low and super low. Because I feel like with the high frequency stuff, they really cut through, especially once you start panning.
Yeah.
Do you ever notice that? Like once you start panning, it'll just like cut through the mix a lot more, and you feel like you have to lower things.
For sure, yeah. When you send it back to the stereo version, usually at that point, when you've been mixing in mono that whole time, it's like really all that's left is leveling things out. And usually, things are extra hot.
Yep.
So you're like, oh, okay, that left and right hat is like super hot in the mix, so let me just dial it back. A lot of times with the beats, I'll just, instead of like looking at where it's at in the mix, I'll just try to, and even instead of listening for it, I'll just try to feel the rhythm. You know what I mean? You want to almost feel that, like that fluctuation instead.
Right.
Another thing is like in that velocity area, you can,
In the piano roll?
the piano roll, you can mess with like the filtering.
That's something that we haven't really talked about.
That's true.
That is a hidden one right there.
Hidden gem
So
alert.
it took me years. I know somebody might have found it day 3 of using FL, but I found it like year 3. You know what I'm saying?
Year 3.
I found it like year 3,
3000.
maybe like year 4, that you could right click inside the bottom of the piano roll and change the even, I don't know what you call it. Like, so instead of it being volume velocity that you change, you can change it to pitch, fine pitch. You can change it to panning. You can do filters.
Yeah.
So you can really like not even have to touch a plugin or even go to the mixer for panning if you don't really want to. So if you're, what I find that really useful for is hi-hats. If I want to go crazy on the hats, I'm sticking in that piano roll in that bottom thing and I'm switching back and forth from obviously velocity because you want that to feel sort of real. Sometimes I'm nudging notes slightly off grid without the snap on there, so I'm turning snap off, or I'm holding the Alt key. Alt key will temporarily turn the snap off, so you can nudge things around if you don't want to go to the magnet tool and change it every so often. That's a huge little game changer right there. But yeah, I'm going, especially with hats, bro, I'm going crazy in there. I'm going back and forth with the pitch.
I like,
especially if you don't want to like put the notes going down the piano roll, you can change the pitch just by going to that feature inside, going to note fine pitch, and then just ramping it down.
And it has a slightly different effect too.
It does.
Like it has like a little bit of a extra candy on top.
Yep.
And well, I don't know which command it is for like which machine, but you can suppose you want it to go straight down in whichever way.
I know, I was going to mention that.
I think it's either like
you right click.
You just right click.
You just right click, hold and drag.
Just right click.
And it'll go in a straight line versus you left clicking it and then maybe slightly off. You'll never get it perfect.
Yeah.
But if you want that thing to be a perfect line, like a straight V, and you want it to go back up, you want to be OCD with it, right click and drag it back up, drag down, drag up, and it'll be a straight line.
You got it. You got to put it in the face.
All right, so guess what? It's keyword time. Keyword time. Today's keyword. You got to comment it down in the comment section below if you're on YouTube. If you're not on YouTube, head over to YouTube. Go comment the keyword. Today's keyword is Baba Booey.
Baba Booey.
Baba Booey. I don't even know how to really spell it. So spell it right, spell it wrong. It doesn't matter. I'm going to choose one person in the comment section down below, and they're going to win a copy of FL Studio Producer Edition. Shout out Image Line again, supplying a copy of FL every single week from now until forever. So we announced the last one, or the first week in the comment section. Well, the first week that we did the contest, because the first episode we didn't do it. We started it on the second episode. I hit the person up in the comments. They already got their copy. So I talked to Josh over at FL, and he's already sent it away.
Changing lives.
Yep. So people that, can't afford it, it's just one of those things, man. I can't thank FL enough for them hopping into the community like this.
Yeah,
They're
that's
just
huge.
really like taking a huge step, especially over the last like 10 years. They've always been involved, but man, they're taking like extra steps.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's an unprecedented
man.
first step.
There's no other DAWs doing that. Yo, when I announced that we were gonna do the giveaway every single week, Devon hit me up and he's like, bro, week 2, you got giveaways every week. He's like, this is what I'm saying. He even put he even put a story up on his Instagram and tagged me. He's just like,
huge.
It's huge. It is. And I'm like, sometimes I'm just like, in the motion, I'm not thinking of it like that. I'm like, yes, this is a really cool thing to do, but sometimes like I gotta stop and be like, yo, this is like big. You know, it's massive, big that like we're doing this, the FL's doing it. The community's like stronger than ever. This is a different type of content for me. I'm just loving it. I'm feeling refreshed. I'm feeling good. I'm happy to do this. It's just something, I'm loving it.
Hell yeah. No, me too.
Loving
me too.
It. So I wanted to just do that. So comment Baba Booey, keyword. Another hidden gem that I was thinking of today was, have you ever tried to play 2 different plugins at the same time? So not inside Patcher. We talked about that. You could do that in Patcher, but let's say you don't want to go to Patcher and you have, let's say, Flex and FL keys, and you want those 2 to play together at the same time. You hit one key and both of them are triggered.
How you doing that?
How you doing it?
How you doing?
In the channel rack, bro, wild. You got to open up. So let's say you already have Flex and you have FL keys in there and you have your presets, whatever. Now you got to go to the plus button and add one more plugin. It's called Layer. Layer. It's in there. nobody ever really messes with it. I remember passing that thing. I'm like, I don't even know what the hell this thing is. I might have opened it a bunch of times. No clue what it did. And I'm not even sure if this is the only thing it does, but I know one of the most important things it does. So you got to go in there, open up layer, opens up as like any other plugin opens up. Then you got to go in the channel rack, make sure that you highlighted the plugins that you want to play together. So if you have 4 or 5 of them, you can highlight all 4 or 5 of them together inside the channel rack, and then go back into the layer plugin. They'll stay highlighted. So make sure that you don't like unselect them by accident. Make sure that they stay selected. And then inside layer, you choose set children, which I don't know why they named it that, but hey, that's what you do. That's all. That's it. So now you click set children, and then from there on, you have to have the layer plugin highlighted, and then it'll trigger both plugins or all plugins every time you put that in there.
And then you can go into, I mean, if you just want like individual sections back in there, you can just go click on those individual VSTs too.
Yep.
Wow.
It's wild.
That's
bro.
perfect. That's perfect because in the patcher, they're all linked, right? So they're like, you can't pull them apart again.
Yep.
But yeah,
I mean, they can be their own thing inside a patcher too. But like I talk about a lot, and I see a lot of people in the comments. And what another thing that I just love about FL is the fact that there's like 15 ways to do the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, not 15, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's multiple ways of doing the same thing in FL, a bunch of different ways. So is there a way to, play multiple plugins at once? There's 2 different ways that I can think of right now, and there's probably more.
Right.
And I think there is. I think you could do something with the MIDI in, MIDI out stuff as well in the back end, like in the little wrench tool. I think inside of the VSTs, like when you open up the sampler window, I think there's a way to do that as well. So I'm pretty sure there's like multiple ways to even play 2 plugins at the same time.
It's just all about what's comfortable for you.
Crazy, bro.
Yeah, whatever is natural for you.
Unreal. You mix in a lot of stuff. You mix in a lot of your own stuff right now. Like you mix currently mixing anything?
Yeah, I'm working on just like really weird stuff right now. I'll every once in a while just get into like recording in the ugliest way possible. I'll just like record with my laptop speakers. So if I'm traveling and all I have is my laptop, I'll just record off of that. I'll record on AirPod mics. I'll do all that stuff. Yeah. So I'm working on a rap project with just all like lo-fi recordings. So, and not like lo-fi type beats, like just lo-fi.
Lo-fi.
Yeah.
Like low quality.
Low quality, dude. High quality raps, low quality recordings. Yeah.
When you record like on the go like that, are you using an interface, or are you just not even caring and you're just like going straight into the laptop?
So this last trip I just went out to San Diego, I did take my interface, but there was a few times that I just like I just armed my laptop mic instead of my plugged in mic. So I was just like,
So you're just using like the sound driver that comes with the laptop.
Yeah, and it's just like low quality, but if your source is loud enough, if you're just like right up in the mic, it doesn't like because there's a gate on it. So if you're far away, it cuts off a lot of whatever doesn't land.
Is the laptop doing that? Adding that gate? You use a MacBook, right?
Yeah, MacBook. So like the microphone just kind of has that. Yeah, like so it almost like it kind of like phasers out a little bit. Like it sounds like when you're on a Zoom.
But
call.
hey, man, that just shows like different styles of creativity you can have when you're recording.
Yeah, for sure. And you can get some halfway decent recordings too. Like if you do stuff on the iPhone, like voice notes, I've had to do that too. We're just like voice note quality recordings and you just line it up.
Why not?
Line it up.
No excuses.
No,
Get
never,
it done.
Never. Yeah, exactly.
You know what that made me think of is like the time that one time I posted a video about this too, and it was literally like it was a mistake, and it ended up turning out to be so wild. I had to like make a video about it and show people that I had my master armed to record by accident.
Yeah.
The master was armed to record.
Done that a million times.
And I don't even know how like my input got put on there or whatever, but I'm recording the master with the speakers on, the studio monitor on, everything's on, it's loud. I'm just like vibing to the beat that I'm cooking up. And then I hit stop, and then boom, audio clip pops in the play. I'm like, what the hell? What happened? I go back and listen. I'm like, yo, I'm definitely keeping this. It was the room audio. The room audio, so like whatever natural reverb was there.
Fire.
Bro, so like
fire.
Just a different level of creativity, just something that happens by accident.
We call that accidental. We call that accidental fire.
Yep. That's that Bob Ross
Yeah.
effect right there.
Happy
accidents.
Happy accidents.
It's a happy little accident.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he be proud.
That's what art is right there.
For real, yeah.
Happy accidents. That happens all the time to
All
me.
the time. That's why whenever I do something accidentally, like when I'm cooking up, when I'm doing anything, I'll just kind of like test it. I'll be like, wait, let me try that out real quick. Because more times than not, if you drag the wrong thing in, or if you like click something off a certain way, like you can get a crazy idea and be like, oh shit. And then just be like, all right, let me record that, you know, and happens. Happy accident.
Have you ever tried doing anything in different time signatures
Here and there.
in FL?
Here and there. I like 6/8. If I'm
6/8's fire.
I like 6/8.
That's like the most common one that's not a 4/4.
Yeah.
Do
like
you
that.
change the whole back end of FL when you do it that way, or do you just like?
I just put the grid
just
the grid
change it.
settings, yeah, the project setting.
There's a way you can do it inside the back end, so the metronome goes to 6/8, the playlist, the grid, everything goes to a 6/8.
Oh, I thought it did it on the project setting.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, that's how I do
Oh,
that.
all right. I thought you were
what
just
was the
saying
way
that
you
you
were
went-
talking about the other way, or what was the way you thought I was talking about?
I thought you were just like changing the grid inside of like piano roll to a third, and then just kind of like rocking it that way,
Oh,
which I've
no.
definitely done.
Yeah.
But it's not like, I mean, you could do it, but then you have to trim everything manually.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, the project setting way is
Project
fire. If you
settings
go into
the
the
way.
project settings, you'll see like denominator or whatever it says in there, and it'll say 4 and 4. You just change it to a 6 and an 8, or
Yeah.
a 3 and a 4, whatever.
And you can mess around with all kinds of different time and that kind of makes it an easy way to conceptualize what's going on in there too. So you can change it to like 5/4. You could change it to all these like weird jazz
Bro,
settings.
I was in a metal band and we did a song that messed me up because I was on drums in that band, and it took me a while to to lock into it. I think it was a 7/8. It was a 7/8.
Yeah.
It was wacky, bro.
Is
was
there
so
a way
wacky.
in FL to automate your time signatures? Is there a way to do that?
What do you mean?
Like, suppose you want to go from 4/4 to like
Oh,
6/8.
not that I know of.
So,
Not that I know of. I know you can automate tempo like that. So you could do tempo changes. That was
Yeah.
something big that when I was in the hip hop metal band that we did a lot was tempo changes. That's like a very common thing.
yeah,
Doing
breakdowns.
a
brother.
breakdown, so you're going from like a 155 BPM, and it's just like gradually slows down to a 115
Yeah,
BPM.
oh, dude.
And then you're just doing this like crazy like chugging breakdown.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you can automate that just like anything else in FL. You could just right click the automation. You can right click the BPM up in the top and create an automation clip. But that right there, I don't know. I don't think so. I guess let us know in the comments if
Yeah,
you
if there's
can.
a way to do that, we need to know.
That's like some next level FL usage right there. If somebody knows how to do that, and I like
We got to get him on the pod.
whoever it is that knows that.
He's like
Next guest, or
He
the
doesn't
first
even
guest.
reveal his identity. He's just the samurai or something. He's just like, I know the way.
It's like an anonymous.
Yeah.
It's like producer anonymous.
Yo. He just pulls up on a screen.
Oh man. Yo, I had another like hidden gem written down that I wanted to touch on. Where is it? Oh, this one. This is good. This is good for like songs references that you do. It was good when I was like doing a lot of in studio sessions, and I still do it to this day, with multiple arrangements within the same session.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't have to save as and have multiple projects with the same name, or like 1, 2, 3, 4 performance track, TV track, blah blah blah. All you got to do is go up into the playlist, and it says it literally says arrangements, and it's a drop down menu. And then you just you can name it, you can clone it, so that way you can pick up right where you left off from there, toggle back and forth in between, and just make sure that you're on the right one when you export, because it's going to export whichever one you're on.
Which one?
So you
Yeah.
can create radio edits in there, or like performance tracks.
Right.
I do a lot of performance tracks for people. I do a lot of radio edits, and that's a huge time saver. And I think it saves a lot of space, because I don't even think it really doubles the size of your session. I think it keeps it the same size.
No, yeah, it doesn't. I think with that, it's really useful for edits and things like that. One thing I'll say is that save like different versions if the song's not done and you're experimenting with different mixing. Because in the arrangement, if you're changing up like different things or like muting certain things, it goes across each arrangement. So if you mute
In the mixer, you're saying?
correct,
Yeah. it only applies to the playlist.
Yeah.
Like keep that. Yeah.
Keep that in mind.
So if you want to do multiple mixes, that's
Yeah.
a different thing. Create more projects and different mixes for sure.
Like what is it? Save version or
Save as. Yeah,
Save
just
as.
go to save as and you name it mix 1, mix 2. But
'Cause
yeah,
I'm
that
pretty sure
applies.
I made some tweaks when I made some
like,
tweaks
damn.
and I was like, oh no.
You just lost it.
Yeah, I was just like, fuck. I made like it hit bad. it doesn't hit the same anymore.
Damn, yeah, that's a bummer if that happens.
Oh.
I've definitely done that and thought like when I early on, or just like forgetting that I did that, and I'm like, oh, like let me fix this, fix that, tweak this, tweak that, and I'm like, damn,
Yeah, I lost it. Polished it too much.
Yep.
You can polish something until it doesn't have the same quality anymore.
You can go back into the backups if that happens.
Yeah.
FL has a really good backup system in place.
It'd be like 80
like-
in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll timestamp them too. So if you go into I forget which folder it is that you go into. Like again, I wish we had the laptop. We're gonna have it. I think next episode in the studio, we're gonna have it. The next episode next week is gonna be a really, really good one, and I wish you and Merc were gonna be with me, but it's gonna be a Namm episode. So if you're going to Namm, let me know in the comments. We'll meet up. We're doing a lot of cool events. I don't know if I'm allowed to announce any of them yet. Well, I'm going to announce one that I'm going to do with Sennheiser. I'm doing one little panel with Sennheiser talking about social media and music and the combination of those, and how to do it. And then I'm doing a couple of mini events with the GOATs FL.
Yeah.
So that's going to be real fun too. So if you're at Namm in Anaheim next week, or the week of this podcast dropping, let's meet up. That's going to be a really cool episode. So I'm going to be filming. I'm going to be doing little mini interviews with different people for the podcast. So I think it's going to be a combination of vlog style / podcast little interviews. I think that's going to be where our first guests come about, because we're going to be just in person with a bunch of people. So that'll be really cool. So if you're there, let's link up.
Shouts out Anaheim.
Yep.
Shouts out the Mighty Ducks.
For real. I wish I could catch a hockey game. I might. Hopefully, I can catch a hockey game while I'm there.
Yo, they might need to put you in.
Yeah, right.
Yo.
And if they want to lose. Oh man.
They want to lose. Hate it.
But yeah, man, that's gonna be fun at Namm with FL. We're gonna do some really cool stuff. I can't wait for it. Anything you wanna talk about in the last? I think we can. We got some time, so we can.
Yeah, kind of going into like if you fuck up, or if your FL crashes, the what is it? Resort to last backup or revert to last backup.
Yep.
That was something that I learned. I was in a session and my shit crashed. I was upset because I was running session for somebody at that point, and I was like, oh, what do I do? And my boy, I think it was Mike, 24 Karat, shouts out Mike from Atlanta. He was just like, yo, here. And he showed me revert to last backup in the file.
Yeah, the file window, yeah.
In the file window. And I was like, yo, that saved my ass that day.
Yep. That's fairly new in that window. I mean, maybe a few versions ago, but that wasn't always like that.
Yeah.
You'd have to go more, I think, into the back end back in the day to get that option.
It was a little more extensive. You'd have to have an IT degree.
For real.
You'd have to.
And then you could also go into the project settings, or one of the settings tabs in that you can change it to save every minute or every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Now you can do it every minute.
Right.
Or it used to say like every 5 minutes or before risky operations.
Risky operations, dude. I don't know risky operations.
But there was another FL Power user that suggested, I can't remember who it is off the top of my head. I know people are going to know in the comments, but somebody suggested, yo, let's make it every 1 minute. Can we make it every 1 minute? And they did it.
Yeah.
So now it's every 1 minute.
There you go, man. That feature alone has saved my tail so many times.
Bro. So good. My FL tends to crash way, way less if it does at all. I just think with the updates and the upgrades and the computer that you have, obviously too, like that has a lot to do with it. I know there was a running joke for a really long time that FL would crash a lot, but I think it had a lot to do with people's computers, to be honest.
I always want to blame FL, bro.
Yeah,
I always want to blame FL.
I mean, if your computer is running, if you got like some i7 or i9 running, and you got like at least 8, 16 gigs of RAM, like you're gonna be fine, and you're not gonna be crashing all over the place.
And if you mess around with all these other plugins that aren't stock to FL, it's just like
that too.
You know,
you got to keep that in mind because a lot of these plugins are buggy and they're not they're not up to date with how fast FL updates their DAW. So FL updates so much that a lot of these plugins got to stay on their toes.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, that's gonna be a huge portion of every plugin company's audience. Yeah. You got to think that a huge portion of their audience, depending on what the plugin is gonna be FL user based, and the amount of updates that FL has to their system, these plugin companies got to be on their toes. But yet another reason why, if you stick stock, if you stick in there with mostly stock plugins, like you're not gonna have a lot of those issues.
Right.
Granted, I know like we're gonna want to experiment, we're gonna want to have fun and go out and download and buy all these different plugins, but all the more reason to get in tune with what you have in the DAW.
And pay attention to that little CPU bar at the top there.
That's huge.
Because when that starts lagging, first thing I look for is like any plugins that are doing a lot, and I'll just print.
You know, there's a little workaround for that. Makes me think of another little hidden gem that I didn't even have written down. There's a smart plugin disable. So like, if you have a bunch of plugins that aren't being used in the moment, this option inside of macros, I believe, this is why we need a laptop, but I believe it's inside of macros. So if you go to tools, macros, you can smart disable all unused plugins or something like that. So whenever those plugins are not being used, it disables them. So it cuts down heavily on your CPU usage, as well as maybe getting rid of, in the same window, in the same macros options, you can also do that with audio clips. So you can purge unused audio clips. I believe it's in the same window.
Oh,
so now you're cleaning up RAM by doing the audio clips, and you're cleaning up CPU usage by turning off any unused plugins. It doesn't get rid of them. It doesn't mute them. It just knows that whenever they're not being used in real time as the song is and your beat is playing, it disables them. So it heavily cuts down on your CPU usage. Crazy.
Perfect.
When I found that, bro, like because I would have tracks with 50, 75, 100, between there, but 100 tracks with vocals. And I got tons of plugins running. My CPU's going. It's starting to crackle no matter what I do with the buffer length, the sample rate. No matter what I do, it's crackling.
I used to hate that.
That would be an instant fix, bro. Like you'll see the CPU jump into like 80, 90 or whatever. You do that and you literally see it cut down to 40, 30, 20. It's instant.
Smart disable, y'all.
Smart disable unused plugins.
That's the shit.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy, bro.
Years in this. Not new to this, true to this.
For real. I think we can wrap up episode number 4, unless you got anything, that you want to talk about.
No, I think that was a banger. That was a burner.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It went by. It went by quick. I know it's not a
that.
full hour, but I don't know. Like sometimes we'll go the full, sometimes we don't. Sometimes,
Could
30,
do like a
40
little
minutes.
like a preview of your Namm episode. I think would
Yeah,
be sick,
yeah. Maybe I'll show that.
Mm-hmm.
If I have it. I don't know if I'll have it, but we'll see. But yeah, again, make sure if you didn't find it, go back and listen again to get the keyword to win a copy of FL Studio Producer Edition. We're giving away a copy every single week, every single Tuesday on the YouTube channel. So if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Music, make sure you hop over to YouTube and comment the keyword. And, as always, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and make sure to share this with a friend if you get me.